On the night every man dreams of, when his bride finally turned to face him, water began to drip from her skin, not tears, not sweat, but seawater. And before he could scream, her legs began to disappear. Before you hear how this wedding night turned into a nightmare and a blessing at the same time, please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Sunday's Story Hut and turn on notifications, so you don't miss what happens next. This is not just a love story. It is a story of secrets hidden under beauty, of a man who married his answered prayer, and of a truth that waited patiently for the darkness of night to reveal itself. In a quiet coastal town in West Africa, where the sea was worshipped with fear and respect, lived a fisherman named Kola. He was known as a hard-working man with a gentle heart and a painful past. Years of failed relationships had taught him to love cautiously. He wanted peace, not drama. Love, not mystery. Then one morning, by the riverbank, he met Adesewa. She appeared like someone the water had carefully sculpted, soft eyes, calm smile, skin that glowed strangely under the sun. People admired her beauty but whispered behind her back. She never stayed long in crowds. She avoided rivers at noon but always vanished near dusk. Still, Kola ignored the warnings. Love made him deaf to fear. Body, the build-up. Their courtship was fast but intense. Adesewa loved deeply but strangely. She never allowed Kola to touch her when rain fell. She avoided mirrors at night. She never spoke of her family. Whenever Kola asked questions, her smile would tighten, and the air around her would feel heavy. Microreaction after microreaction piled up, but love convinced Kola they were just harmless quirks. The elders warned him. Dreams warned him. The sea itself warned him when waves grew restless whenever Adesewa walked past. Still, he married her. The wedding was grand. Drums echoed. Dancers smiled. The sea stayed unusually quiet that day, as if holding its breath. Adesewa looked stunning, yet uneasy, like someone counting down to something unavoidable. Night finally came. The wedding night. Inside their room, silence replaced celebration. Kola noticed the cold air, the faint smell of salt, the way shadows moved oddly on the wall. His heart raced, not with desire, but confusion. Then it happened. Drops of water fell to the floor. Adesewa's breathing changed. Her skin shimmered unnaturally. The oil lamps flickered. The bed creaked, not from movement, but from pressure, as if the room itself was bending. Kola stepped back. That was when her legs began to merge. Fear froze his body. Love chained his feet. His mind screamed while his heart refused to believe what his eyes were seeing. The woman he married was not fully human. And just as panic reached its peak, the sea outside roared loudly, like it was calling its own back home. The aftermath of the revelation. Fear did not make Kola run. Shock did not make him scream. What held him still was something far more dangerous, love mixed with disbelief. His heart refused to accept what his eyes had witnessed. The room smelled of salt and destiny. The sea outside growled again, louder this time, as if impatient. Adesewa's transformation did not complete. It paused midway, as if the night itself was negotiating terms. Slowly, the strange glow faded. The water on the floor stopped spreading. Her form returned to what looked human again, fragile and trembling. Kola collapsed onto the edge of the bed, his breath uneven. His mind raced through every warning he had ignored. The elders. The dreams. The restless sea. Everything suddenly made sense, and that realization hurt more than fear itself. The secret he never asked for. As dawn approached, the truth settled heavily in the room. Kola understood that the woman he married carried two worlds inside her, the land and the water. She was bound by ancient laws older than the village itself. Laws that demanded secrecy, sacrifice, and silence. Microreaction after microreaction shook him. His hands trembled. His chest tightened. Yet beneath the fear was a painful realization: Adesewa had not chosen deception out of cruelty. She had chosen it out of survival. The sea did not forgive easily. The consequences begin. By morning, strange things began. Things began to happen. The villagers noticed the tide rising unusually high. Fishing nets tore mysteriously. Children complained of hearing songs coming from the water. Elders grew uneasy. Eyes turned toward Kola's compound. Whispers spread like wildfire. Love that hides a secret never hides the consequences. Kola tried to act normal, but the weight of knowledge bent his shoulders. He was now married to something sacred and forbidden. Something beautiful and dangerous. Mid-story CTA, natural and smooth. If this story is already pulling you in, please like this video, subscribe to Sunday's Story Hut and turn on notifications so you don't miss what happens next, because from here, nothing stays peaceful. The price of loving the unknown. That night, Kola dreamt of the ocean swallowing his village whole. He saw himself standing alone, holding a child with eyes as deep as the sea. He woke up shaking, sweat cold on his skin. Love was no longer simple. He began to notice Adesewa weakening whenever she stayed too long on land. Her strength faded during full moons. Her eyes darkened when she heard the waves. It became clear, she was not meant to stay permanently. And yet, she had chosen marriage. That choice broke ancient balance. The first ultimatum. The sea responded. Storm clouds gathered without warning. Rain fell violently. The river overflowed its banks. Fishermen lost their boats. The elders performed rituals, but the waters remained angry. Kola felt the guilt press into his chest. Every disaster felt personal. Every cry from the village felt like an accusation. He realized something terrifying then. The sea wanted Adesewa back. And it would keep taking until it got what it wanted. Human flaw and emotional struggle. Kola struggled with doubt. Was love worth destruction? Was marriage worth the suffering of others? He loved her deeply, but fear whispered selfishness into his heart. He wondered if letting her go would restore peace. But love is rarely logic. The more danger grew, the tighter his heart clung to her. That same night, as thunder cracked the sky, Adesewa collapsed suddenly, her body cold, her breath shallow, and water began to pool beneath her again. Kola realized too late that this was no longer just a secret. It was a countdown. A choice was coming. Save his wife, or save his people. And whatever he chose, something precious would be lost. The choice that could not be delayed. By the third night after the wedding, the sea stopped asking politely. Waves crashed against the shore with violence never seen before. The moon hung low and red, a bad sign the elders feared. The air felt heavy, as though the world itself was holding Kola responsible for what was happening. Every breath he took carried guilt. Adesewa grew weaker with each passing hour. Her body no longer fully obeyed the land. Water formed around her even when she slept. Her skin lost warmth, replaced by a chilling coolness that terrified Kola more than the storm outside. Love had become fear. Fear had become urgency. The elders' verdict. The elders gathered secretly, away from curious ears. Their divinations pointed to one truth: a being of the sea had crossed a boundary that could not be ignored. Marriage had sealed what was never meant to be sealed. They spoke of ancient covenants between humans and the ocean, agreements written not on paper but in blood and sacrifice. Breaking such covenants invited punishment not just on lovers, but on entire communities. Kola understood then that love alone could not protect him. Love had rules. And he had broken them unknowingly. The weight of guilt. As the village suffered, Kola's heart fractured. Nets returned empty. Homes near the shore flooded. Children fell ill from strange fevers. Mothers cried. The sea kept rising. Every disaster pointed back to one truth: Adesewa did not belong fully to him. Micro-reactions tore through Kola. His chest burned. His hands shook. His mind replayed their wedding night over and over. If he had known earlier, would he still have chosen love? That question haunted him. The sacrifice demanded. The elders revealed the final condition whispered by the waters. To restore balance, Adesewa must return to the sea before the next full moon, or the ocean would take something far more painful in exchange. Not land. Not crops. But blood. Kola's blood. Or worse. The blood of the child fate had already planted in her womb. The realization crushed him. Love had created life, and now life was being threatened by the very force that birthed her. Mid-story CTA, natural flow. If you're still here, this story is about to get even deeper. Please like this video, subscribe to Sunday's Story Hut, and turn on notifications, so you don't miss what happens next. What comes after this choice will change everything. Love versus destiny. Kola wrestled with himself. Letting Adesewa return meant losing his wife forever. Keeping her meant destroying his people and possibly his own blood. There was no victory, only loss measured in different ways. Adesewa's condition worsened. Her breathing slowed. Her eyes sometimes reflected the ocean even when no water was near. The sea was pulling her back with increasing force. Kola began to understand a painful lesson. Love does not always mean possession. Sometimes, love means release. The sea makes its move. On the seventh night, the storm reached its peak. Thunder shook the earth. The river overflowed violently. A massive wave crashed onto the shore, swallowing canoes and dragging them into darkness. It was no longer a warning. It was a demand. As Kola prepared himself for the inevitable, he noticed something that made his heart stop. Adesewa's body did not just weaken, it began to change permanently. This time, there was no pause. The night the sea took control. The ocean no longer waited for permission. By midnight, the shoreline disappeared under violent waves. Palm trees bent in surrender. The wind howled like a wounded spirit. The village stood on the edge of destruction, and everyone felt it. This was not nature, this was judgment. Inside Kola's home, Adesewa's transformation accelerated. Her human form struggled to remain intact. Water flowed freely from her skin, soaking the floor as if the sea itself had found a doorway. Her strength faded rapidly, and her presence felt divided between two worlds. Kola watched helplessly, his heart breaking with every breath she took. The final ritual prepares. The elders arrived before dawn, faces hardened by ancient knowledge. They carried sacred objects wrapped in white cloth, symbols used only when balance between worlds had been broken. Their expressions revealed the truth before any explanation was needed. This was no longer about saving Adesewa alone. It was about saving the village. The ritual required Kola to make a binding vow, one that would follow his bloodline forever. If Adesewa returned to the sea willingly, peace would be restored, but the child growing inside her would belong to the ocean. A life exchanged for many. The pain of love. Kola's spirit shattered. Love that once felt like blessing now felt like a curse wrapped in beauty. He struggled with guilt, anger, and desperation. Every part of him screamed to hold on, yet reality demanded surrender. Human flaw surfaced clearly, selfishness fought sacrifice. His heart wanted happiness. His conscience demanded responsibility. The sea thundered louder, impatient. Mid-story CTA, smooth and natural. If this story is touching your heart, please like this video, subscribe to Sunday's Story Hut, and turn on notifications, because what happens next will shock you. The unexpected turn. As preparations continued, something shifted. The waters suddenly calmed. The storm slowed, not completely, but enough to draw attention. The elders froze. This had never happened before. The sea did not negotiate. It took. Kola sensed something deeper at work. Adesewa's condition changed again. Instead of weakening, her body glowed faintly, not violently, but gently, like moonlight on still water. Her breath steadied. The pull of the sea paused. Balance was being questioned. The hidden truth emerges. Through signs and omens, the elders realized the truth they had missed. Adesewa was not an ordinary mermaid bound by ancient law. She was part of a forgotten lineage, guardians of the boundary between land and sea. Her marriage was not a violation. It was a test. The disasters were not punishment, but resistance from old powers unwilling to accept change. The cost still remains. Relief did not erase danger. A guardian cannot exist in two worlds without consequence. Adesewa could remain on land, but only under one condition: Kola would be bound to the sea spiritually for life. His fate would no longer belong fully to land or people. Love demanded shared sacrifice. As the ritual shifted, the sea responded again, this time with silence so deep it felt unnatural. The moment of decision. Kola stood at the edge of the room, staring at Adesewa. The calm glow surrounding her was both beautiful and terrifying. Every fiber of his being screamed to protect her, yet the whispers of the elders and the cries of his village pulled him in another direction. The air was thick, heavy with salt and destiny, as if the universe itself waited for him to choose. Love had never felt this heavy. It had never been a question of desire, but survival, duty, and sacrifice. To hold on to Adesewa was to risk everything he had ever known. To let her go, or accept the spiritual bond, was to surrender control of his life entirely. The sacrifice of love. He recalled their courtship, the soft laughter, the stolen glances by the river, the warmth of her hand in his. And he knew, deep inside, that love was not measured by possession. True love demanded courage, sacrifice, and faith in what could not be fully seen. Kola made his choice. He would accept the bond. Not out of bravery alone, but because the heart that truly loves cannot let fear dictate its actions. By agreeing, he not only saved his village, but he also honored Adesewa's truth and existence. Love would remain, but it would be redefined. The sea accepts. With conditions. As Kola uttered the binding vow, the room shifted. Water flowed around the couple, not violently, but with reverence. The air shimmered. The sea itself seemed to bow, acknowledging the courage of a human willing to share his life with something sacred. It was not just a bond of love, it was a covenant of survival, respect, and destiny intertwined. The elders nodded in solemn approval. They whispered blessings and warnings. This choice came with weight that would touch generations. The child Adesewa carried would bear the legacy of both land and sea. Kola's life would never be the same, but the storm had passed, and the village slowly regained peace. If this story is capturing your heart, please like this video, subscribe to Sunday's Story Hut, and turn on notifications, because the journey is far from over. What happens next will reveal how love, destiny, and sacrifice shape lives in ways no one can predict. The aftermath. Adesewa regained full control over her human form. The water receded, the storms calmed, and the village breathed again. Kola held her hand, feeling the warmth that had almost been lost forever. But the bond was more than emotional, it was spiritual. Every heartbeat, every breath, every choice now carried the presence of the sea within him. The villagers, sensing the shift, treated the couple with a mix of awe and reverence. The tides became predictable, the fish returned, and the crops began to thrive. Yet, behind every blessing lay the reminder of the covenant: love carries responsibility, and some choices carry eternal weight. The human struggle remains. Kola could feel the pull of the ocean in quiet moments, sometimes in his dreams, sometimes in his thoughts, sometimes in the rhythm of the village river. It was a constant reminder that love and destiny are inseparable. To live fully, he had to balance humanity and something greater. Fear still lingered, but it was tempered by understanding and acceptance. And then, one evening, when the sun dipped below the horizon, Adesewa gazed toward the sea with an intensity that made Kola's heart skip. Something was coming. Something older than the village, older than the ocean itself, something that would test their bond in ways no one could foresee. The calm was only temporary. Kola realized with a shiver that love had saved them, but it had also drawn attention from powers far beyond the human world. The real test of their love was only beginning. The approach of the unknown force. Days passed with uneasy peace. Kola and Adesewa settled into their new reality, hearts intertwined yet cautious. But the sea never truly sleeps. One evening, as the horizon blushed under the dying sun, ripples appeared far beyond the shoreline, unnatural, deliberate, and heavy with purpose. Kola felt it in his chest, a warning. The ocean, it seemed, was sending an emissary, a test of the bond they had forged. Not all beings welcomed love that bridged land and water. Some thrived on chaos and separation, and Kola feared the day the storm would return, stronger than before. The final test of love. Adesewa held his hand, and he could feel the pull of her origin, the water calling to her soul, murmuring secrets of the deep. But this time, she did not resist. Instead, she whispered through action, not words, that they would face whatever came together. Kola understood, true love required courage beyond desire. It demanded trust, acceptance, and a willingness to sacrifice not just for one another, but for the lives intertwined with theirs, the village, the future child, and the delicate balance of nature itself. The power of sacrifice. The waves rose suddenly, splashing violently along the shore. From the surf emerged a being, larger than any human, radiant with ancient power, eyes gleaming like the abyss. The villagers fled in terror, but Kola stood firm. This was the consequence of love, an encounter with the unknown. Adesewa moved forward, merging her human form with her true mermaid nature, her body glowing with protective energy. She spoke, though Kola could not hear her words, he understood them with his heart. The force tested him, tested their union, but love was stronger than fear. Kola reached out, uniting fully with Adesewa. In that moment, the ocean itself calmed, acknowledging the bond and the courage of a man willing to accept destiny, no matter the cost. The resolution. As dawn broke, the sea receded, leaving a calm, sparkling shore. The emissary of the deep vanished, returning to the mysteries of the ocean. The village, safe and intact, emerged cautiously. Kola and Adesewa returned to their home, weary but alive, stronger and wiser. The balance had been restored, but not without cost. Kola would always carry the essence of the sea in his spirit, a reminder that love sometimes binds us to responsibilities we cannot ignore. Adesewa could remain on land, yet she would always hear the whispers of the ocean, reminding her of her origin. The moral and lesson. True love, the story whispered, is never simple. It is courage in the face of fear, sacrifice in the face of desire, and trust in the face of the unknown. Some bonds demand more than passion, they demand respect for the forces bigger than ourselves. Kola learned that loving deeply means accepting destiny, embracing the impossible, and rising above fear. The sea had tested them, the village had survived, and love had triumphed, not by conquering, but by understanding and sacrifice. Even as peace settled, Kola sometimes heard faint whispers from the horizon, the soft song of the deep calling Adesewa back. It was a reminder that their story was eternal, love had won, but the ocean's mysteries would always linger. The end. Kola and Adesewa stood together, hand in hand, hearts united across worlds. Their love had survived fear, storms, and the impossible. And in that survival, they found the ultimate truth: love is not possession, it is devotion, sacrifice, and courage. And the sea, ever watchful, smiled quietly, knowing its secret was safe, for now. Thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe, explore our older videos, and let us know the country you're watching from.